On this new series that I'm loving so far, on this Becoming series, and y'all, we are getting down to the most gritty for Becoming series. This is I'm your host, Daniellejmartin of Behind the Spotlight Podcast. Now, over the next couple of weeks, I'm inviting you to tune into a couple of conversations that I'll be having with some of my close friends who are also true believers and community influencers.
I will ask him for something, he will give it to me, but it's not how I thought it would look.
Just because you think that you deserve something does not mean that you deserve it in that season.
The skills that you have that nobody else has, your perspective, the lens that you have, those things are your best thing.
People always say, like, when you know better, you do better. But why is it that when you know better, you still don't do better? Are you really becoming wiser? Now, on this new series called Becoming, we're going to be diving into a variety of topics that's going to empower you and inspire you to become the better version of yourself.
That's what it is. Because you're stepping into the unknown. You're stepping into unfamiliar territory. So when you're growing and when you're evolving and when you're changing, you're going to be faced with things that you've never been faced with.
What God is calling you to do doesn't make sense. It makes miracles.
That you are the head and not the tail, above and not beneath.
Now, if you find that this conversation is serving you, then I encourage you to share it with someone else. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Now, open up your minds and be ready to be transformed. Hey guys, we're back with another episode right here on Behind the Spotlight Podcast. It's your girl, Daniellejmartin. We are back with another episode. Super excited. We are coming down to the wire, okay? This is episode 9, and we're getting to my favorite person of all, my sister in Christ. Literally, like, I think every person is my favorite on this show, but this person right here, I'm super excited to introduce you guys. We've known each other for, I think, going on like 12 years, maybe more than that. But she's my sister. We've known each other since middle school. Okay. So super excited to introduce you to a pharmacist, Dr. Bria Sydner. How are you doing?
I love that. I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal because, honey, we have talked about this episode for like a long time now. So we are here. I'm super excited. But before we do anything, we always like to introduce who the person is, what they do, and then we'll go into our friendship of how long we've known each other and things like that. But Dr. Sydner, she is a pharmacist, okay, in Texas. It's so nice.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
This little ring to it, you know? But first of all, just tell the people who you are, how you got into pharmacy, and just a little bit about you.
Okay, yes. So, as she said, my name is Dr. Bria Sydner. I love saying it. And I'm a clinical pharmacist. I work at the Texas City VA Outpatient Clinic for the Michael E. DeBakey VA Medical Center. So I work with our veteran population. How did I get into pharmacy? Let's see. So I knew I wanted to pick a field in medicine that could make a difference and an impact on patient care. But I didn't like blood. And then I was like, I knew I would be super close to the kids if I was a pediatrician. So I had to find a field that was kind of not as involved with children, not as involved with like needles and blood and stuff like that. Anyway, so I ended up choosing pharmacy, but while I was in pharmacy school, I discovered clinical pharmacy, which is totally different. So do you want me to go into detail about that or no?
Definitely. Let's go.
Okay. Okay. So for clinical pharmacy, basically we do disease state management, and it's different for every single field. So for mine, I'm an ambulatory care pharmacist. So I manage diabetes, hypertension, or high blood pressure, and then hyperlipidemia or high cholesterol. And so we do disease state management. We go over the disease with the patient. So like, what do you have? What is diabetes? What's going on in your body? How does the medicine work in your body? And then what are your goals of therapy? So like today, your A1C is at 14. We have to get you to less than 7. Here's how we're going to do it. And then I make an action plan with every single patient. And then we go over lifestyle things like diet and exercise. Ton of fun. But I love doing it with our veterans because I get to give back to those who served our country. So I love that so much.
Wow.
Yeah,
powerful woman right here. Let me tell you, like, it's just so nice to know, like, my sister's a pharmacist.
You're so
like,
funny.
go get your blood checked, okay? But I absolutely love that. And so, but yeah, Bria, wow. So we've known each other since middle school. And so it has been a phenomenal journey. I will definitely say that. And so we have just been, okay, so we got introduced to each other at a cheer practice. And so we cheered for like, I don't know, however many, 15 years, I don't know, around that time. And so we've known each other for about, I think about the same time. And so we got introduced, and I think it was because she was new in town. And someone was like, hey, you know, this is Danielle, this is Bria. And literally ever since, we just have been connected at the hip, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. I love every single second of it. And, we went to high school together, and then we got separated at college because she was a year older. And so then she went on to Xavier and Hampton, right?
Yeah. So first I went to Hampton for undergrad, and then for some family reasons, I came back home, went to Texas Southern, TSU, for my undergrad. And then for pharmacy school, I did go to Xavier University of Louisiana. So all HBCUs, which I love.
Absolutely amazing. And she's also an AKA, in case you don't know.
I sure am. Yes, ma'am. 1908.
Yes, that's what I love. So, so yeah, we definitely had an interesting journey. So we went to college, and then she went back to Texas, and now, you know, she told you like what she's doing there. And so I also like to be transparent in like what we are and what we do. And I want everyone to understand that like the journey in life, like there's things that happen for a reason. And so I think for about 3, maybe 2.5, my like timeline's not accurate, but maybe like 2.5, 3 years, we were, I wouldn't say not talking at the time. And then we kind of just reconvened maybe like a year or 2 ago, and now we're here. And so by the grace of God, I absolutely love like where we are, who we are, what we're doing. And so I wanted her to become on this episode called Becoming Whole. Okay. So we are talking about becoming the full self, your whole self. And so we're, even for you, like, let's take it one step at a time, but like, what is your definition exactly of becoming whole?
So that's a wonderful question. And I thought about it because I knew it was the title of this episode, and it was just so hard to answer that question. So first and foremost, I think like if anyone's trying to figure out what does it mean when you say becoming whole, that's a difficult topic to really define. And I feel like it's different for every single person, but I know for me specifically, becoming whole was really just loving myself for who I am and what I have to offer. And that makes me whole. Because, you know, there's different parts of life that we experience, you know, different stages, and something can make you feel whole at one part in your life. And then later on, you feel empty again, or you just feel like, you know, you may be half full. And then later in life, something else makes you feel whole again, you know, so there's ups and downs, but I feel like you have to figure out for you. So I feel like for each person, it's just you have to figure out what exactly it is that makes you whole, and what will make you feel whole consistently throughout life. And so for me, that was just loving myself, number one, and being confident in who I am and what I have to offer the world. And I feel like in every situation that keeps me feeling whole. So that's a part of it. But then even more so than that, it's just having that direct relationship with God and with Christ. That definitely makes me feel whole like 100% of the time, because when I'm going through something new, I can always turn to God. You know, I can always pray. I can always, you know, reflect on that relationship that I have with Christ and know that, okay, no matter what I'm going through, it's going to be fine. You have to have faith the size of a mustard seed. and pray about it, and then just
Yes.
know that he's going to carry you through everything in life. So I think those are the two major things, and I should have said that one first. Being one with God and with Christ and having that good, strong relationship, that's a huge part of feeling whole. And then outside of that, just loving yourself, knowing yourself, and being confident with who you are and what you have to offer. Because the world will try to make you feel like what you have isn't enough, or like what you're doing isn't enough. And you have to know for yourself, I am enough in every situation in life. So I think those two things definitely make me feel whole.
I love that you just hit the nail saying you have to know what makes you feel whole and not basically the satisfaction of other people that makes them whole, because it's your life that you're living. And I absolutely love that. And like one of the things that you talked about was like, what makes you happy, the things that you're trying to focus on that make you happy. And I think that like what I really want to dive into, Brie, is just like, was there ever a time that you looked at maybe objects or people or a substance, that people look on the outside world, the outly world things to make them feel whole, And so, just going into right now, listening to Mike Todd's series about, like the cuffing season of being comfortable and like the things that we try to fill ourselves with to feel comfortable, to feel whole. It's like, wow, like addressing those barriers. I don't think that many people realize that they're holding on to people to make them feel whole. They're holding on to substance, whether alcohol or smoking or whatever it is, but they're holding on to the opinions of people to make them feel satisfied and whole. For you, was there ever a time, maybe looking back in high school or middle school or wherever in your lifetime, what time did you feel like I was looking on the outward things of the world to make me feel whole?
So definitely in high school. I think that was a huge turning point in my life, because up until then, I was 100% a people pleaser, and I wanted to be liked by everyone. I also had this outlook on the world. I used to think the world was just so beautiful and everyone loves you and, like everyone cares about you. But in reality, that's not always the truth. We know that now as adults, but in high school, for sure, I wanted to be liked by everyone. And I had that desire. And so when things went wrong, or when I had experiences with, the mean girls, it made me feel like I was doing something wrong, or like I wasn't enough to be their friend, or what I was saying wasn't good enough, or what I was wearing wasn't pretty enough. Like I just really felt like that moment in high school kind of helped me change my perspective on myself. And so more and more, so let's say in high school, for example, towards the end of it, I let go of wanting to please other people and starting to figure out what makes Bria truly happy. And I think throughout college is how I learned what makes me really happy. But even still throughout college, I had to figure out like, okay, now I know what makes me happy, but how can I stay content in this, in that season, and not let anyone's opinions of me change, or, any organization I'm trying to join or anything like that just impact the way that I live every day, So I think that was for sure the season was in high school. And then just having different people in my life, on one of your podcasts, you talk about your circle of friends that you have around you and how important that is. 100% true. Because my friends, my now husband, my mom, they all poured into me and helped me realize, my own worth. And I think, even throughout cheer, I really struggled in that area, because when I was cheerleading, I used to have that doubt where it was like, oh, I may not be able to do this triple toe back today. I don't feel confident, or I can't do that full on the floor. I need to do it in the resi, So there was always like some doubt that kind of played in my head. And even from the outside, my coaches are saying, you got this, you can do this. I'm barely spotting you. I'm not touching you, So I went through a huge phase of overcoming those two different things. One, what others had to say or how they felt about Bria, and then my own view of myself and my own confidence. And so that's what I was saying in the beginning. Working on those things have really helped me to feel whole all the time now. Because even in pharmacy school, so I ran for this thing called Miss College of Pharmacy. And with that role, I was able to do so many things for the entire like P1 through P4 student body and the community and everything like that. But I remember when I was running, again, I was experiencing that doubt. And so my husband now, he was like, why are you going down that same path again? Like, you're over that, you've overcome that, and he showed me that I was revisiting it. So it's definitely a continuing like work in progress, and things that you work on when you're younger, you have to keep working on them as you grow older and older in life. That's all a part of becoming whole. So, it's very fitting for this episode.
Wow. Okay. So she just unloaded so much. And so I started to write things down because it was just like, we have to touch on it all. Right. And so some of the things that you discussed was just like, I can agree with you when it comes to people pleasing. And like, we talk about that all the time, and to be completely transparent with everyone, making this transition, especially out of the news industry, was very difficult for me, and so Bria knows that, like, and Michael as well, just being so worried about the opinions of people, like just weighing on me. And I'm going to have to be, vulnerable in this moment to let people know that I'm still working through that,
Right.
And so, learning that the opinions of people should not be making you feel whole, because they're not the ones that you're living for. We're living for Christ. We're living for God. We're living to, give back and to make his name whole. But it's like, if you're worried about what other people are trying to say about you, it's like, you're really not even fully living, you're living for others. And in a sense, you can live for others, but not in a sense to where they're controlling your every move. And, you're having their opinions weigh on you to where you're like, you can't even fully live. And so I love the fact that you talked about that. And then going into, your surroundings. And I think that, like, people's surroundings make people whole, and if you have people pouring into you negatively, if you have people pouring into you with all of this stuff that is not supposed to be a part of you, it eventually becomes a part of you because you're around it. Like, your environment is so important,
Yes, that is so true. And what you allow in your environment is just very important, because I remember in pharmacy school, so we had this exam and I made this huge poster with like all my notes all over. I think it was for one of the labs. We had lab Monday through Thursday. So I had either like a Monday or a Tuesday lab. So I made this huge poster, had all the notes on there. And I was like, of course you're really proud of your work. But after my lab was, my exam was over, I ended up giving it to someone who asked for it in my class. Now, were they my friend? No. Do I know the person? Not very well. But my thoughts were, well, I'm done with the poster. My exam is over. It's going to help somebody else study. Here, you can have it.
Right.
And I remember this girl said to me, "You're just too nice." And I was like, "What do you mean by that?" And she's like, "You worked so hard on that note poster. Why would you just give it away to somebody you don't even know?" And it was like that toxic energy. I was like, I'm not going to let like you impact me right now in this moment. Like, clearly you're going through something and you're just taking it out on me. Because for a second, I think I was like, well, was I wrong for giving away that poster, And it's like in life, you have to not question yourself and your decisions because someone else isn't happy with them, because someone else can't see like the beauty in what you're doing, or because they don't have the same beautiful spirit that you do, because we're all different. We're not all on that same level. So I just told her, I was like, like, I didn't need that poster. So I gave it away so they could use it to study. There's nothing wrong with that. It's going to help somebody else. And, and I wanted to do that. And then I moved on. But it's just like in life, that tends to happen, that people want to be negative towards you, or they want to tear down your positive deeds because they're not doing them, or just because they're not happy with whatever they have going on. So it's just, that's something else that's important, is that you don't allow toxic energy, toxic people, or toxic comments to really affect your mood and what you do.
Come on, sister. Come on. Yes. Like
Yeah.
you were speaking to my spirit because like, just like you said, so even earlier you talked about, you'll overcome something and then you'll be faced with the same obstacle. So basically you'll be revisiting what's going on. And I really do think that's a part of God checking your heart, like, okay, you said that you're going to overcome this. You said that you don't quote unquote care. It's so funny when we say like, I don't care, but like part of us does. And
Right.
so, just like you said, you're always going to be questioned about your character. Like, do you really want to do that? Even right now, people are always just like, questioning me, like, why are you doing that? And it makes you second guess, like, well, is this really what God told me? And it's like, no, you have to really be so secured in your foundation of God and what you believe in, because you are going to have the outside world question you and tear you down. Because one thing about this world is because people don't have the character, like you said, to do it themselves. So they're going to look at you and be like, do you really want to give that girl that poster? Do you really want to leave the industry? Do you really want to leave that relationship? All these different things. People are always going to question your character because they don't have the ability or capacity to do it themselves. So they look at you and they try to find something wrong. And it's so interesting because I see it done to Michael all the time. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I always say he's the most gracious person I know, because people are always questioning his decisions. Like, do you really want to do that? Are you really going to open up this building? All these different things. And it's just like, you have to be so grounded. And when God gives you a word, you have to commit to it. You have to believe it. You have to have the faith, like you said earlier, like a mustard seed, because you're going to be questioned. Looking at Noah, I'm sure a lot of people looked at him in the Bible and was like, why are you building an ark?
Right.
It hasn't rained in years.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. You know what I mean? And so when you talk about just the different type of stories that you've been given, I think that's going to happen all the time. When you're becoming whole, you have to really understand who you're becoming. And it's a process, and know that along the way, people are going to question you, and it's going to be difficult. But you have to be so secured. And when God gives you a word, you just have to know, you know what, he gave this to me. And it's so interesting because I've just been so more peaceful with my decision every step of the way. And so I wanted to share this with you too. Like even just with it being my last day yesterday, a part of me didn't really feel sad. And I thought I was going to be feeling sad. I was like, oh my God, this is the end.
Right.
And I was telling Michael, I was like, I really feel like, this is the end. And it really dawned on me. I had revelation. And it wasn't the end. It was just like, it felt like a whole new beginning.
Right.
And it was just interesting that, like, again, when people see you do unnormal things, that's not normal to them, they're going to find something to question you about. They're going to look at you crazy. They're going to make you feel doubtful. And you have to have the strength to really know that what is for you is for you.
Exactly. And it's for you, but a lot of times when we do these things that are out of the normal, it's to show people that it's okay to trust God. It's okay to step out on faith. It's okay to exercise that mustard seed size faith and show them what that really looks like, because you hear that saying, people say it all the time, but what does that really look like? Like leaving an industry that you have been so familiar with, you studied for years, you've been practicing and doing it for years, and now going to something totally new. That's showing people what it looks like to exercise that faith, and sometimes I feel like as Christians, that's a part of our job, is to show other people how to do that, or what it looks like to continue to be successful, even in uncomfortable situations, because all that does is bring other people closer to Christ, like when they see, oh, wow, if she can do that, maybe I can do it too. And then it gives them that inch of hope, or they'll be like, well, you know what? She prays all the time and God got her through it. Maybe he'll get me through it too. So that's a part of our job. It's just showing other people that it's okay to trust in him, and it's okay to make these new decisions. And then I feel like the other thing too when you were talking earlier, you have to be ready for the things that you pray about. Like when you're trying to become whole and you say, God, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. I want to be more Christ-like, or I want to be this kind of person. And when you're speaking those affirmations daily, like I am beautiful, I am confident, and you're saying all these things, the things that you're praying about and you're speaking, you have to be ready for them, So that's a huge part of becoming whole, is becoming ready, because you can't say I am this person, but then you're not living up to that, or you're not doing your part, really, because God can only do his part, but he will look at you and say, child, you need to do your part.
Come on.
So that's really a huge part of becoming whole, is just becoming ready for that next step as well. And you want to have that good foundation so that no matter what situation you're in, you feel complete. That's what I was saying, like loving yourself, knowing your own worth, being confident in who you are and what you have to offer will get you through every situation in life. A new job, a new friendship, like if you're not happy, I'm sorry, you're not happy, but I know I'm doing my best. I'm pretty much amazing. So let me figure out how I can work on it to be better for you, but it doesn't hit you or for me, it doesn't hit me like it used to, because if someone isn't, so let's say at my job, if they're not agreeing with my clinical decision, right? I trust myself. I know that I've been trained. I know that I practice by evidence-based medicine. So if you don't agree, I don't go home and say, what did I do wrong? Or is it my fault? No, I'm a lot more confident now. And I say, well, I know that I practice by these guidelines and this recommendation. So let's discuss what are our differences. And then my perspective is different now. It's no longer Bria was wrong, or Bria's not competent, or Bria's not adequate. It's, I'm confident in what I have to offer in my skill set. We have a disagreement, or we may not come to that same recommendation. Let's just discuss it, and then from there, we'll both figure out a way that we can grow and move forward. So, that happens in your job and your friendships and with anything, but you really have to be comfortable with yourself, even in relationships. Like if you feel whole within yourself, no one else can threaten your relationship. I can look at a woman and say, she's beautiful. That's a bad girl right there, huh, Jeff? Like I can ask him, like, because I'm confident with Bria, and I know what I have to offer him and myself. So, there's a lot of different parts to becoming whole, but the foundation, you have to have it, because life is going to change. Last year was 2021. This year is 2022. So life is going to change. And if you don't have a strong foundation within yourself and within Christ, that's when you'll struggle more,
Honey, you are unloading a lot. Okay. I want you to understand.
It was a long day.
No, but you were speaking to the crowd. Honestly, Bria, I think you would be so surprised when you go back and watch this episode, because honey, I'm like, you are releasing and you're getting to the root. And that's what I love. And that's what we're always going to do here, is to get to the root of the issue, the problem, and reveal the things that people need to understand and hear. And they may not even realize that they're, not seeing it from that perspective. And so I think you really unlocked a lot just when it came to, your job, your relationships, and just knowing who you are. And that's what it goes back to. It's just knowing who you are. And I think when you know who you are and whose you are, you would know how to navigate through life a little bit easier and stop looking at other people like they're threats. Right. Because usually people will come in your life for a reason to help you, or you're supposed to help them.
Exactly.
And so I really love that, like you talked about, and I want to go back because I always want to make sure that we're also helping people in this episode. But you talked about even to the ways that you were able to overcome the opinions of people, the way you were able to overcome, like you said, going home from work and knowing that you're not going to make yourself feel guilty because, I'm confident in my work. I know what I do. So basically what did you do to overcome the struggles or the things that kind of like implemented in your mind where they were like trying to make you, discourage yourself? Like, what did you do to get over the opinions of people? What did you do to become more confident in who you are?
Great question. So first, I prayed about it a lot. I really asked God to help me in that area. And, sometimes I feel like we'll tell other people, like, can you pray for me? But I actually intentionally prayed for myself. And I think that really helped because it helped me build that relationship with Christ. And as I was building it, I learned, and I would especially in the beginning when I was really struggling, I would listen to a lot of sermons. And I even started reading the Bible, which is interesting because I always have my Bible, but then I realized it would be collecting dust. We all have them, but I wasn't really reading it. So I actually started reading it, and my husband helped me with that part too. Throughout that process is when I realized God loves me no matter what. And I think that was the first thing that helped me overcome the opinions of others, is that knowing that no matter what, he loves me first, So definitely building that relationship with Christ is number one in overcoming opinions of others, because you have to be confident that his opinion is the only one that matters, When it comes to my job, so no matter what your field is, you have to know your craft. That is what makes you more confident, because once you know your craft and once you know that you're practicing at the highest that you can practice at, and you're doing the best thing, for me, for my patients, then it just makes me feel so confident to where I don't have to doubt myself or let the opinions of others make me question myself. So for example, let's say, so there's certain things that I just know naturally from my training, especially with diabetes management, but we do these different requests, and a lot of times I get new drugs, right? So if I see a new drug, I take the time, I stop, and I go look it up. And I look up, what are the monitoring parameters? What are the contraindications to this drug? Or what is it, if this patient has a certain disease state, can they not take it, and why? So I take that extra time to look up everything I need to look up. And that makes me feel confident when I make my final recommendation. So then if they were to come back and say, well, I would have done this, I can back it up and say, well, I looked in this guideline, that recommendation or this resource, So when it comes to your craft or whatever your job, your field is, you have to know your stuff, because that adds to your confidence. Same thing, when you're studying, if anybody's in school and they're listening, when you have your exam, you feel confident when you study. If you don't study, you're not going to know all the answers, So that definitely helps with overcoming the opinions of others. And it's been really difficult, especially as a Black woman in medicine, because they look at us already like, do you know what you're talking about? So I really have to know my craft, and I'm doing extra things to make sure I'm set apart, which also adds to my confidence level, So I just finished studying for that board certification exam. Once I have it, that's more letters behind my name. It's more credentials, and it makes me feel like I'm more certified. So that helps me internally with my internal confidence. Now, others, like outsiders, one thing that has really helped me is self-affirmations. And I tell you this, and I don't know if you really be believing me when I be telling you this, but ask Jeff. I talk to myself, and one of your other guests said that same thing. I will literally be like, Bria, you got this. You are the bomb.com, or wake up in the morning. You look so beautiful today. Ooh, Lord.
You gotta pump yourself up. Oh my gosh.
You have to pour into yourself.
You have to.
That really helps with loving yourself, being confident, and not caring about the opinions of others.
Right.
Something else that really helped me was understanding that we are all human and we all make mistakes. That really helped me, because I think for a while I felt like certain people were just so perfect for some reason, especially people that are older than me. But we're all human. We all make mistakes. No one is perfect. And it's not like God looks at you and says, oh, your mistake is worse than her mistake or his mistake. That's not, our God is so loving and forgiving.
Right.
So just
he doesn't even operate like that.
Exactly. And if we do make mistakes, he's forgiving. And so I think all those different things is what helped me to just really overcome the opinions of others. And then practice, because when I'm in the moment and I'm thinking about what somebody else is thinking, I stop and I say, no, we're not doing that today. Devil, you're not coming in. You will not win. I'm not doing that to myself today. I know that I'm enough. I'm more than enough. That's when those affirmations really come in the moment.
Yes.
So it's one thing to just say it right now, but you have to really practice it in the moment of self-doubt, or when someone else is, giving their opinion on you. That's when you stop right there and you say, it's not a reflection of me. It's whatever they're going through. And I'm going to pray for you. And I know that I am, confident, beautiful, whatever it is.
I love that. I mean, again, you just said so much. And I just love that. Most importantly, you said you have to really know your craft, right? And so if you don't mind, I would love to just, again, be transparent and share the story of like the previous time that you had to take your test, and, Bria had to study for a test, and she knew when the date was, when you have to do something. And most importantly, she just really didn't take it seriously, and so then kind of just going into that test, and she was like, I know I could have passed that test. I went into that test, but I already knew just maybe, and you could probably speak on it more, but like just knowing based off of our conversation, I just knew she felt like I could have passed that test if I studied more, but knowing that I didn't, obviously I didn't pass the test. And I think sometimes a lot of people think that they can maneuver through life like that they can just, they can just wing it. I deserve, I'm entitled. A lot of people feel like they deserve to have something, but you didn't work for it,
Exactly.
And so it's just like, you can't really look at someone else and be upset with their success or what they're doing, because they are putting in time and effort. And I think we talk about this all the time on this show, is that you have to really pour into yourself. And a part of you pouring into yourself is knowing your craft, is knowing who you are. Because like you said, if you have those self-affirmations and you have, those moments where you're really talking to yourself, then you know who you are. And when you're going out and you're dating people, girl or guy, you are secure in your partner. You know what I mean? When you're not secure in yourself, obviously you're insecure. You know what I mean? And so it's just like you said, you have to really know who you are. You have to really pour into yourself. But how much time are you taking pouring into other people, but not pouring into yourself?
Yes.
Really ask yourself that. So, but just going back into, your test, kind of explain to people, when you give half results, or when you put in half work, you get half results, right?
Exactly. Yep. That's right. So two parts to that. First part, let's talk about because how I just said you have to practice, right? So obviously we all struggle, and we all will have weak moments where we still allow old things to come back and get us. And then we have to get ourselves together. So this is a good moment of recent when I allowed other opinions to enter my life. So the first part of that test story is that, so I had just finished my residency. So to become clinical, you have to do residency. And I did 2 years. So mind you, that's 4 years of pharmacy school, 2 years of residency, and this is all after undergrad. So 6 years of graduate school and training later, I was tired, right? And I finished my residency, my PGY2, and I was like, yes, it's over. My co-resident, who was also staying on board with the VA with me, she said, hey, let's do our board certification exam. So then my thoughts started going, and here came the devil. If you don't do it and she does it, you're going to look bad. All the different mentors and preceptors will see that she did it and you didn't, and you're not going to look the best. But meanwhile, you have to know yourself, like I said. And Bria knew Bria was tired. Bria knew Bria was running on E, but what did Bria do? Pay the money for the test. So I paid the money for the test because I knew she was taking it, and she talked me into it. And my thoughts were all about, what are they going to think if I don't do it? Right. So pay the money for the test. And guess what I didn't do? I didn't study because I was exhausted from residency. And on top of that exhaustion, I was ready to live. When you're in pharmacy school and then you do 2 years of postgraduate training, you don't have a lot of time for just family, friends, traveling, whatever. So when I finished residency, what was I ready to do? Go, go, go. And your girl had a good time too. And so I had a really, really good time for those 2 months. I should have been studying, but then guess what? Day of the exam, I was like, during the exam, I said, if you would have studied, you would know this material because it
Ooh.
wasn't even that difficult.
Mm-mm.
It really and truly wasn't that difficult, but I did not prepare.
Yeah.
You need a 500 to pass. Guess what I got? A 475. Let's put it out there. Without studying.
Without studying. So just
And
imagine if you would have studied, not even you, I'm just talking about people. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Imagine if you actually gave the effort you should be giving. Because so one thing about me, I always say, if I'm going to do it, if Bria's going to do it, Bria's going to give her all. And that was a prime example of me not giving any effort. And, you know, I was disappointed in myself because I said, that's not who you are. This is not Bria. You don't have do anything, you know. I almost said that word, sorry. Like, you're not a half giver. Like, you go hard for what you want in life, you earn it.
Yes.
You know, Beyonce, I see it, I want it. That be me. Like, I work hard, I grind till I own it. Anyways, not this time. So I had to pay the money again and actually study again. And so this time it went a lot better. I was in the exam and I was like, I know that question. I studied it. Oh, I remember that. I studied it, but I shouldn't have had to go through that all over again. Or I should have had, you know, enough strength that first time to say, I'm going to wait until, you know, the spring. There's no rush. I got the PharmD. I have the residency and I have my job. There's no rush whatsoever. But instead, I did allow those opinions to just come in. And, you know, so that's I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great story.
Yeah.
And I think people need to know you really do have to work for the things you want in life, because I really feel like God loves me, y'all. I feel like he does. But I felt like he said, child, if you don't give effort, I'm not going to just give you things. You have to work for things in life. You know, you need to earn them. Yeah. So
I love that I really do love that you are open to sharing that story, but also like, I do think everything happens for a reason. So I know you were like, I was embarrassed, I shouldn't have gone through that, but you went through that for maybe a moment like this to share, to let people know that like, hey, I know I'm a hard worker, but I'm also human too. You know, I also went through a situation myself where, you know, I probably shouldn't have been there, but now I understand. And so like you said, though, you have to also give the full effort, because God is going to give, but you have to be able to give fully as well. You have to be able to put in the work. You know, one of our friends always says that, like, you know, when you start working, or when you start walking, God starts working. And so you literally just have to put in the effort, just put in the effort and the work to do just majority of it. You know, like God already has his hand on you. He's just looking to you for the faith. That's crazy to think about, but it's like God already has a plan to give it, you know, but in order to receive it, you have to literally just do the work. If you were to think about the simplicity in that, it's like, wow, like all I have to do is just show up and give 100%, and I will receive all the glory and the desires of my heart. Yes, it is that simple. But at the same time, I know God does try to develop our heart, and he tries to develop our character by putting us through trials to also like help you understand that things aren't going to come easy. And I also want to test your heart to make sure you are coming from a pure and innocent place, that you're not trying to receive something out of, you know, spite or out of like deceitfulness or anything like that. Like, I want you to be pure when you're going through like life journeys. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that, because yes, Bria is a hard worker. Literally, we can go through her whole timeline about what she did in college. Okay. Because it is insane. It's like, she probably didn't sleep at all. Pharmacy school, sorority, like Miss Pharmacist, like everything, like literally. So like, yes, it's like, it happens to even the best people, like, you know, so I definitely appreciate you sharing that. But honey, you like released everything. And so as we definitely come to a close, I always like to give a room, an opportunity for people to share last nuggets. You know, if you can leave anything with anyone, if you could share any advice about what it takes to become whole. We understand that it takes a journey. You know, it's a journey to get there. You're never going to get to a place and stop. becoming. You're always going to get there.
Yes.
You're always going to be developing all the time. But if you had to leave last words with the viewers and listeners, what would you like to say?
So number one, always keep God first. Always. Have grace for yourself. No one is perfect, like we mentioned earlier. So definitely have grace for yourself. Like you're not gonna be, and we mentioned this last time in our Instagram live, but you're not gonna be at 100% all the time. It's just impossible. So definitely have grace for yourself, and then trust that what God has for you is for you. No one and nothing can stop it. No one can take it away. What God has for you is for you. And I just encourage everyone to really exercise that faith the size of a mustard seed. I cannot say it enough and I think because now I understand it. I used to hear it when I was younger at church, right? And I'm like, what they talking about? But now as an adult, I'm like, you know what? You really have to have faith that small and just trust that God's going to do it. Whatever the desires of your heart are, you have to trust him.
Yeah.
So, quick last little story, but when I did my first year residency, I was in New Orleans and I did pharmacy school in New Orleans. So I was there for 5 years. Everything in me wanted to come home to Houston, right? And I've always wanted to work in the VA. I love the veteran population. I love the VA system. Like there was just so much from my training that I wanted it. And so in the VA, and I'm gonna make it really quick, I promise. But in the VA,
you take your time.
They have a first year residency, and they can early commit for a second year, right? So usually, if you don't do your first year there, you're not gonna be able to do your second year there because they early commit someone to stay on for the second year. So anyway, so when I was the first year, I was in New Orleans just with Xavier, so I wasn't at a VA. And next thing you know, I found out that the PGY2 program in Houston at the VA was looking for a PGY2 in amp care. And I was like, oh, well, they not early commit? Well, the person that tried to early commit, unfortunately, they didn't accept her. So the spot was open. And so immediately I was like, God, are you trying to show me something? Like, I want to go home to Houston, and I want to be in a VA, and the girl couldn't early commit. Like, should I apply? And at that time I was also tired from my first year residency. I didn't know if I wanted to do a second year, but I said, if God showed me that door, it must be for a reason. So I applied. And the chips were stacked against me. I mean, I hadn't been in the VA. People were applying from other VAs,
Yeah.
I got it. And I think it was like 24 people that interviewed, and they selected one, and it was me, so I felt like not only did God, he opened that door that's usually not open, but then he let me walk right in there. And then I was able to stay on for my career, so back to what you said earlier, you have to do the work. And I worked really hard in pharmacy school, really hard in my first year residency, and then he blessed me with that PGY2, in Houston. But that little bitty opening, it was like he left that open for me to see, like, here you go, have faith, go apply, go interview, do excellent, and then it's going to happen, So I leave everyone with trust the process, because the beginning part of that story is I had already applied to a fellowship in Houston, and I got denied. I should have said that first. I applied for an academic fellowship with the University of Houston and got denied. And then it was like a week later when I saw that the VA was looking for a resident. So, I could have let that first denial deter me and say, well, I'm not doing it. I'm never going home to Houston. But I kept that faith the size of a mustard seed. And next thing you know, God said, when I close one door, it's for a reason. And I opened this door, and this is a better door, and it set me up for my whole career. Here I am, Okay, so last words. Keep God first and foremost. If you don't have a relationship with Christ, build it. Reach out to friends, family, anyone to help you with that walk with Christ. Number 2, know that what he has for you is for you. No one can take it away or stop it. And then just truly have that faith. That's all.
Oh my God. Wow. So, Honey, let me just tell you that like this entire episode, in case you don't know, regardless if you think that you just came on here and just talked for fun, you were literally speaking to my heart the entire time. So I absolutely love you for like getting on here, being so transparent. Like, oh my gosh, you did so amazing, sis. Like, definitely, I know you're going to touch one person out there. And that's our goal, is to touch at least one. If you can change one life, we did our job for the day. And so I thank you for sharing your story and supporting me at all times. And just, I just love what you said of just having the faith of the mustard seed and believing that, you know, whatever God has for you, it is really for you. It's not for anyone else, and nothing and no one can stop that. And understanding that sometimes your journey in life is not going to make sense, and that's okay, you know?
Yes.
And so I just love where you are and who you are. And honey, I'm super excited for what's coming. Oh my gosh. Super, super excited for you. Is that Jeff?
Yeah, we have a visitor.
Hello. We are wrapping up, but for those who want to stay in touch with you, who want to follow you, definitely share your social media handle.
Okay, so on Instagram, I am Bria, BRIA _Sydner, SYDNER, Bria _Sydner. Facebook, just Bria Sydner, and I don't have anything else. That's about it.
That's about it. Well, you guys, if you are in Houston, definitely check her out. Okay. She could definitely get you right with your health. Okay. So, but thank you so much, Sissy, for being here. And again, we just ask you guys to share this. Again, if it hit you, I'm sure it's going to hit someone else. It's all about sharing the word, breaking chains, and helping you become the better self. You guys, we're almost done. Oh my gosh. And the last but not least is my honey. I'm super excited. That's gonna be deep, girl. That's gonna be real deep. You might want to buckle up for that one.
Have some popcorn and some tea ready for that,
girl, because you know he about to unload everything. Okay,
I'm ready. I'm here for it.
Look, but I love this episode.
He gets on that deeper level,
girl. I don't know if they ready for it.
Hey, it's gonna help that one person.
Definitely. So definitely share, you guys. That's all we have for you today. We'll be right back here next week. Have a great day.
Bye.